Welcome to Lively Lewis Stories.
Buckle up, because you're about to join Levi and Ivy on an adventure.
All you need is your imagination, and off we
go! Lively Lewis Stories!
It was Halloween Day, and you know what that means? Anything magical and mystical is possible. The wind didn't just rustle the leaves on the ground, it chilled you to the bone. The moon didn't just cast a shadow on your lawn, it painted mysterious shapes on the side of your house. And the black cats didn't just wander around outside. They seemed to be, instead, waiting for something. Levi and Ivy loved Halloween and couldn't wait to go out trick-or-treating with their friends that night. The spirit of the season was getting to everyone, and that day at recess, Levi and Ivy heard a story that changed their whole day. So I heard this from my brother, who heard it from his friend, who heard it from her cousin, and she's 13, which is practically a grown-up, so she wouldn't make this up, said Levi and Ivy's friend Rose as they all huddled on the playground. My brother said that in the woods right behind your house, there's a path covered by thorny vines that leads to a clearing. In that clearing, there's a house, and in that house is a family of witches, Rose blurted out excitedly. Wow, that's amazing, said Ivy. Maybe we should look for the path when we get home, added Levi. I mean, if they live in the woods behind our house, then we're pretty much neighbors. It would be rude to not go by and say hello. Well, I also heard that the family's been living there for like 100 years, so I guess you're a little late, giggled Rose. But my grandma always says, better late than never. Levi and Ivy looked at each other with that special brother-sister look. That look where they didn't have to say a word and knew exactly what the other one was thinking. Today after school, we are going to look for that house. The rest of the day seemed to drag on. Levi and Ivy each doodled in their notepads during quiet time, each one drawing what they thought the witch's house would look like. Levi drew a wonderful castle sitting behind giant iron gates that looked like spider webs. Ivy drew a cottage that looked as if it had grown right there in the forest. It had a moss-covered roof, a large wooden door, and beautiful stained glass windows showing different fall scenes. Once they were back home, Levi and Ivy gobbled down their snack their mom had made for them, threw a few supplies in the backpack, and headed outside. Where are you two going so quickly? Their mom asked as she opened the door to the backyard. Just for a little walk in the woods, Levi answered, looking at Ivy with a tiny smile. We'll be back way before dinner. Remember, we have to eat early tonight so you can meet your friends to go trick-or-treating, she called out as Levi and Ivy ran off into the woods. After about 10 minutes of walking, Levi called out, Ivy, I think I found something. Is it the path? Ivy called back. Yup, and it sure is covered over, answered Levi. How are we going to make it through? Lucky for you, I took something along that will be a big help, replied Ivy as she reached into her backpack and pulled out her toy robot hand grabber. Then she used the robot hand to grab the thorny vines and move them out of the way. In no time at all, Levi and Ivy were carefully making their way down the path. I wonder how long it'll take to get there, said Ivy as she moved one particularly big vine out of the way. I'd say not too much longer, replied Levi as they both lifted their heads and saw a house sitting in front of them. The witch house, they both said in a quiet shout. They were so excited and didn't know exactly what to do next. But the first thing they noticed was that the house, it didn't look like either of the houses that they drew at school that day. It actually looked pretty normal, a little like their house actually. As Levi and Ivy stood staring at the house, they heard a noise in the bushes. They each backed up slowly, not knowing what could pop out of the leaves. They were excited and a little nervous. They held their breath and waited as the branches parted out and stumbled. A little girl? Who are you? Asked Levi. And are you looking for the witch house too? Ivy added. Me? Who are you? And what do you mean looking for the witch's house? I am a witch, and that's my house, said the little girl as she got back on her feet. My name is Dawn. I'm 5 years old, and I live here with my family. I have for about 100 years. Levi and Ivy looked at each other with that brother-sister look again. Their mouths dropped open, their eyes grew wide. This is the witch. We're talking to a witch, We're sorry, said Levi. We didn't mean to be rude. We just live a short walk that way and heard about your house today at school. I'm Levi, and this is my sister Ivy. We wanted to see it for ourselves and say hello. Hello, Dawn. It's really nice to meet you, said Ivy. What are you doing looking around in the bushes? Did you lose something? Nice to meet you both. And yeah, I lost something. My sweet little black cat, Pepper. She's been lost since yesterday, and tonight is my family's big Halloween festival. We go every year together, said Dawn. I've been looking for her all day. When I heard you two coming up the path, I thought it was her. Oh, we're sorry, Dawn. We'll be happy to help you look for her, but we only have a little while before we have to get back home for dinner, said Ivy. Where was the last place you saw Pepper? Asked Levi. And is there something she really likes that maybe could help her get back home? Like a special treat that she likes? Dawn walked back towards her house, looking rather sad. Then she stopped and began to smile. Pepper loves candy corn more than any treat in the whole world, exclaimed Dawn. I bet if I spread a bunch of candy corn around the yard, she would be back in no time. Yuck! Candy corn? Levi and Ivy said together. Sorry, Dawn. Oh, it's just that we don't really like candy corn at all, said Ivy. Yeah, there's this one house in our neighborhood where the Rileys live, and they only give out bags of candy corn, Levi began. Every year, our mom makes us go there just to be nice, but we never eat it. Just then, Ivy got a strange smile on her face. That's it, Ivy shouted. I think I know where Pepper is. Dawn looked really excited and couldn't wait to hear what Ivy had to say. I think Pepper is at the Rileys' house, Ivy blurted out. If she loves candy corn, there's no place with more candy corn than that house. It's not that far away, and we could be there in no time if you'd like to go. Since Dawn couldn't think of anywhere else to look, and Pepper did love candy corn, she was willing to follow Levi and Ivy. The three kids followed the path back through the woods and found themselves in Levi and Ivy's backyard, just as the sun was setting. Levi and Ivy ran inside their house with Dawn. Since it was Halloween, their parents didn't ask why she was dressed in a witch's outfit, but they did want to know who she was. Levi and Ivy said that she was a new friend from school who would be trick-or-treating with them. Is it okay if Dawn eats dinner with us? Levi asked. Absolutely, Levi's dad said as he set another plate on the table. Levi and Ivy went to their rooms to change into their Halloween costumes. Then after a quick dinner of slimy spaghetti and monster meatballs, Levi dressed as a robot, Ivy dressed as a witch, and Dawn each grabbed a trick-or-treat bag and headed for the door. Levi and Ivy told their parents they were headed to the Rileys' house and would be right back. We just want to load up some candy before our friends get here, said Ivy. The Rileys' house? Said their mom. The house with all the candy corn. I thought you didn't like candy corn. You always say it's good to try new foods, smiled Levi as they walked out the door. Happy Halloween! Thank you for dinner, Dawn called out as she followed Levi and Ivy out the door. They ran down the street, passing other trick-or-treaters as they went. They had enough time to get to the Rileys' house, hopefully find Pepper, and then get back home to meet their friends and go trick-or-treating. As Levi, Ivy, and Dawn approached the house, they saw Mrs. Riley standing on the front porch holding a huge basket filled with little bags of candy corn. Happy Halloween, Levi and Ivy, and your friend too, she said as she reached into her basket. You're our first trick-or-treaters of the night, and you know what that means, extra candy corn. Levi and Ivy smiled and held out their bags to distract Mrs. Riley, while Dawn searched around the porch and front yard. Just then, a car drove by and its headlights shone against the bushes in front of the Rileys' porch. That's when Dawn saw something she had seen so many times before. Pepper's beautiful emerald green eyes shining back at her. Pepper! She called out. As she did, her cat ran over to her. It was hard to tell who was more excited to see the other. Oh, that's your cat. I'm so glad you found her, said Mrs. Riley. She's been here all day. I think she likes candy corn. I gave her a few earlier. I hope that was okay. Totally fine, answered Dawn. I'm just so happy she's safe and we're back together. Levi and Ivy thanked Mrs. Riley for the candy corn and stepped off the porch to head home. Happy Halloween, called out Mrs. Riley. Happy Halloween, called back Levi, Ivy, and Dawn. Levi and Ivy got back to their house with Dawn and Pepper just a few minutes before their friends would arrive. Thank you so much for helping me find my cat, Dawn said, hugging Pepper. Happy to help, replied Ivy. Would you like to go trick-or-treating with us? Levi asked. We would love to, but we have my family's big Halloween festival to get to, said Dawn. Maybe next year. Sure thing, said Ivy with a big smile. But it's Halloween. You need to leave here with a little candy. And with that, Levi and Ivy gave Dawn all their candy corn. Dawn thanked her new friends again and headed back towards the woods. I'll make sure the path is clear from now on so you two can stop by and visit anytime you want. Dawn called out as she disappeared into the forest. Happy Halloween! Just then, Levi and Ivy's friends walked around the corner. Who was that? Asked Rose. Levi and Ivy once again gave each other that special brother-sister look. Oh, that was just a new friend we met, said Levi. Yep, she lives on the other side of the woods, Ivy added. I wonder if she knows the witch that lives out there, Rose giggled. It's Halloween. Anything is possible, Ivy said, smiling at Levi, and off they all ran to trick or treat. Did you learn a lesson from this story?
If so, what was it?
And parents, do your kids have a story idea?
Leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, the idea, and your kid's name for a chance to join Levi and Ivy on their next adventure. Until next time.
Thanks for listening. Come back for more.